So Jim, please come on up. There's water right here.
Oh, thank you. Okay, forgive me for being a little bit theoretical still. I want to especially thank Patricia and Rebecca for taking the 100,000-foot view and looking at the big picture, because we all of us are working in our own small little way, and it's really wonderful to think that we fit into a larger context, which I believe, and probably a lot of us, especially those of us in the business world, intuit, we may be presented with an entirely different set of economic circumstances before too long. And the economic world has changed over the last 2 years, and it's likely to continue to change. And so all of the little bits of protein that we see floating around in the world of business models, each different business model being a different sort of protein, is going to have the opportunity to reconfigure itself into entirely new DNA, I believe, in the next year or two. And so we are really on the eve of a really wonderful and exciting time. And so what we're doing here is something that's happening in the food world at the Asilomar conference. And we're sort of opening out our minds a bit and looking to other worlds. And one of the things that I'd like to point out is that there's an entire world of, there are other universes besides the food and farming universe. There's the employee stock ownership universe, which has conferences of equal size to this, and we'll have several tracks on, for example, open book management, how businesses operate, sharing information on financial information with employees in little seminar rooms like this that are packed with people. And there are 11,000 employee stock ownership companies in the United States, varying from a small percentage of ownership to 100% ownership. And they include like UPS and Avis and many, many, many other. We're going to hear from one 100% worker-owned business here shortly. Then there's another entire world of labor issues. There are whole convention centers filled with labor union representatives around the country that meet and talk about labor issues and what it means to be an employee in a system which is way bigger than yourself, and how you sort of hang on to not only your dignity but some amount of financial remuneration and security. So what I'm trying to do at the micro level at Swanton Berry Farm is try to bring those three worlds together. And that's no small task. But it is it's definitely exciting and challenging. It's blending three business models really together is where we're at. We've been farming as a farm for 26 years. Prior to that, I worked for a group of farmer-grown production co-ops, and right now we farm on leased land. We farmed around 200 acres of leased land, and we grow about 10 or 12 different crops. We grow about 20 acres of strawberries. organically. When I first started, we had there were no other organic strawberry growers in the state, and now there are at least dozens or scores, perhaps hundreds, and we represent 1% approximately of the organic strawberry acreage in the state of California, 1.5%. There's an article in New Yorker this week about Malcolm Gladwell's latest piece on entrepreneurs, and he really brings up a good point about starting a business, which is it's really a myth that entrepreneurs take huge risks. Entrepreneurs cover their butts and think a lot about all the things that can go wrong, and successful entrepreneurs manage to stay afloat by paying really close attention to all the possible things that can go wrong. And I think that's one of the things that I attribute to our still being in business after 26 years now, competing with dozens and dozens of other organic strawberry growers. Complexity is the reality of the food system. It's really beyond any individual person's ability to pull it off, really, I believe. There are maybe a few stars who can do everything, but the fact is that as the business has evolved, it's become really, really, really complex, and the ability to grow a highly perishable product and get it into the store and make sure that the shelves stay full and stocked at all hours of the day in those stores with a 75-mile radius is really a difficult logistical issue, not to mention all the logistical matters that go into actually growing the fruit. So as the business has grown over the years, we now have 50 employees, and we, as I say, we farm on leased land, and we do a whole bunch of different kinds of operations. And there's a lot of people, we have a lot of depth of talent in our organization. And so one question that comes up is, how do you share ownership? Because obviously just one person doesn't pull it off, or even just a handful of key people don't pull it off. The employee stock ownership world offers a way to share ownership broadly. The legislation that enabled the employee stock ownership system to evolve was set in place, I don't know, 30 years ago perhaps. And it is intended sort of almost like a retirement program. In fact, it's regulated by the ERISA laws by the Department of Labor. And so the way it works in our case is that we, among other things, have a profit sharing program. And we put money into that profit sharing program, which exists as a separate legal entity, as a trust outside the business with a separate board of trustees. And so each year we contribute some stock, and if we have a profitable year, we contribute cash. And so that trust is accumulating, stock and cash, and that is, no longer touchable by the Swanton Berry Farm entity. Right now, actually as of January 1st, the trust will own 10% of Swanton Berry Farm. We've been incrementally we've been creating new shares and basically diluting my shares and contributing those to the ESOP. The ESOP now owns 10% of the company, and over time it'll own a larger and larger percentage. The reason that I am proceeding slowly is that there have been a lot of people over a long period of time that have made important contributions to the farm, from everything from just paying really close attention to the irrigation or the harvest to coming up with some really different idea. And that continues to this day. So it isn't like there's just a few handful of people who make a big difference. And so the idea is to mete out the stock slowly over time, so that whoever happens to be standing there on, June 30th, 2009 doesn't get this huge windfall of stock. And then you wonder, 4 years down the road, what do you do about these other people that are also contributing to the growth and culture of the company. So the way that I've dealt with it, I suppose there are other ways of dealing with it, but the way that I've dealt with it is by meeting out this over the shares over a long period of time. We do practice open book management. The part that I find hard about open book management is getting people terribly interested in actually sitting down and looking carefully at the numbers. But the way we do it is by, one of the ways that we do it is we have company meetings, maybe every quarter, 2 or 3 times a year, where everybody's paid, and we serve a meal, and then each department talks about what's happening, and one of the reports is the financial report, and we always eat first, by the way. And then we go through the broad outlines of where we are financially. It's often a surprise to people to find out that even in a really good year, the last 2 good years, we've had really great years. We had a retained margin of around, I borrowed that from the co-op world, 4%. So, on a $20 flat of strawberries, we have the opportunity to save for either debt reduction or future capital investment or reserve against losses less than $1. And people don't understand that. On the other hand, you have to pay income tax on the entire amount. So it's a tough business. And these have been 2 good years that we've had. The culture of ownership is widely discussed throughout the ESOP world, and it's generally understood to take quite a long time to really grasp what ownership means and understand the processes of the business, because most people don't really have a whole lot of interest in actually how the business functions. They just want to know, do they like their job and do they have a secure paycheck? So that's a process that I've been moving along for a few years, and I expect to be doing that off into the distant future as well, because it's just a process that takes a very long time, years and years and years and years. I feel that the union contract is a really important part of our operation. We signed a contract with the United Farm Workers, 10 or 11 years ago or something. And the process of generating a contract is a process of discussion and negotiation. And it's a really good process because people sit down, workers and management, sit down and discuss in detail all sorts of issues that are generally not dealt with systematically in a well, especially in a farming business, but generally not dealt with systematically in any kind of business. And so it, of course, there's an anniversary for the discussion of the contract, and it's really pretty amazing how detailed it is. It's almost like having an HR department, or I don't know how to explain it exactly, other than to say that it systematizes things in a way and formalizes things in a very positive way, I believe, so that the owner can't sort of be capricious about things. And then, of course, the employees, by participating in the process, really feel some ownership in the process themselves. So that's been a process that's been very good for us over the last 10 years. And I feel like it's an important part of our of what we offer as a company, is the sort of the culture of inclusion in decision making, and furthermore the sense that employees have that if they have issues, that they will get dealt with in some formal way. That's the sort of intangible. I guess it's the feel of the place is affected by that sense that that you as an employee would have a voice in your workplace. Other things that we offer are a second pension plan, defined benefit plan that we pay into the union by the hour. We have a union pension plan. We also have a health plan and a dental plan and vacation and holiday pay. So our operation is pretty expensive, but on the other hand, here we are 26 years later, and still I sort of joke that I think we're one of the most profitable companies in the United States these last 2 years at 4% margin. And people sort of joke at that and think I'm talking in numbers. I'm talking in percents, but I mean, hey, that's good. So our time, I think, has come. We're growing food. I mean, our time, when I say our time, I mean all of us in this room. We're growing something essential, and thank God we're not part of the parasitic class of bankers. Well, not all bankers, but I mean,